When your partner shuts down during conflict, the worst thing you can do is assume they don't care. Because a lot of the time, they care deeply. What's actually happening is that their nervous system is overwhelmed, they don't know how to express what they're feeling, or they no longer feel emotionally safe enough to stay open in the conversation. And if you are the partner on the other side of that shutdown, it can feel really devastating. It can feel rejecting, lonely, infuriating, especially when you are already exhausted, overwhelmed, and carrying the emotional load of parenting and family life. But here's what I need couples to understand. The more one partner pursues and escalates in panic, the more the other partner often retreats. And then the more they retreat, the more anxious the other person becomes. And before long, you're no longer solving a problem, you are trapped inside a cycle. Hi, I'm Catherine O'Brien. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Sacramento, California, and I specialize in working with couples and parents navigating emotional disconnection, communication struggles, and the transition into family life. And honestly, this dynamic is one of the most common things I see in my office, especially after having children, because parenting pushes couples to their emotional limits. People are overstimulated. They're sleep deprived, they're touched out, they're burned out, they're trying to manage work, schedules, emotional labor, finances, and a relationship all at the same time. So when conflict happens, many couples are not responding from a calm, regulated place. They're responding from a survival mode. And one of the ways survival mode shows up is emotional withdrawal. And before I go further, I want to say something really important. This video is not about excusing avoidance. It is also not about blaming the partner who wants to talk, because usually both people are hurting, just in different ways. One person feels abandoned, the other feels emotionally flooded. And unless you understand the cycle underneath, couples tend to keep accidentally hurting each other while trying to protect themselves. I worked with a couple where the husband had an incredibly difficult time expressing what he was feeling in real time. And when conflict happened, he would go quiet. He would need space, pull inward, and his partner experienced that silence as terrifying emotionally. The longer he stayed quiet, the more anxious she became, the more she pursued him. Why won't you talk to me? Why are you shutting down? Do you even care? Say something. But the more pressure he felt and the more overwhelmed he became, the more he shut down. So what started as one difficult conversation would spiral into hours of conflict, sometimes even escalation, hurt feelings, and emotional distance. And honestly, this is a common pursue-withdraw cycle in couples. What helped was not deciding who was the bad guy. What helped was slowing the cycle down, helping her regulate her anxiety that came up during the silence, and helping him learn language for what he was experiencing, helping him learn how to communicate. I need a little time, but I'm not leaving this conversation. That changed everything, because for many anxious partners, the pain is not just the pause itself. It's not knowing whether the connection is coming back. And that distinction matters. There's something wrong feels very different than we're overwhelmed, but we're still connected. There's actually strong research supporting this idea that emotional responsiveness and repair matter deeply in long-term relationship stability. Researchers like John Gottman have found that emotional flooding and defensiveness often predict relationship distress, while repair attempts and emotional attunement help couples reconnect. So let's talk about what actually helps when your partner shuts down. Tip number 1, stop chasing clarity in the middle of a nervous system overwhelm. This is one of the biggest mistakes couples make. When someone is emotionally flooded, their brain literally becomes less capable of thoughtful communication and emotional processing. So if your partner is shutting down and you keep pushing harder and harder for immediate answers, you may unintentionally increase the shutdown. Now, that does not mean your feelings do not matter. They absolutely matter, but timing matters too. There is a huge difference between avoidance and needing regulation. Tip number 2, learn the difference between space and abandonment. Healthy space sounds like, I need a little time, but I want to come back to it. I'm overwhelmed right now. Can we talk after the kids go to bed? I need 20 minutes to calm down. Avoidance sounds like disappearing emotionally for days, refusing accountability, stonewalling indefinitely, or never revisiting the issue. The distinction is incredibly important because space with reassurance builds safety in the relationship, and silence without reassurance creates insecurity. And tip number 3, create a shared pause system. Before conflict happens, I love helping couples create a word or a phrase that means, I'm overwhelmed, I'm still with you. Sometimes couples use something funny, something unique to them, something that interrupts an escalation, because when emotions get high, couples often need structure, not perfection. And honestly, parenting couples especially need this because there is rarely a perfect, uninterrupted time to process emotions. And tip number 4, the withdrawing partner has responsibility too. I really want to say this clearly because I never want these conversations to turn into, well, this is just how I am. No. You are the partner who shuts down. Your healing work is learning how to stay emotionally present even when discomfort shows up. That may mean learning emotional language, learning regulation skills, learning how to tolerate conflict without disappearing. Even saying, I don't fully know what I'm feeling yet, can be incredibly connecting. You don't need perfect communication. You need emotional engagement. And tip number 5, the pursuing partner also has healing work. If your anxiety spikes during emotional distance, that makes sense, especially if you grow up around inconsistency, emotional unpredictability, rejection, criticism, or abandonment. But trying to force connection through pressure often backfires. I know that's hard to hear, but intensity does not always create closeness. Sometimes it creates overwhelm, and sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is regulate yourself enough to create safety instead of escalation. And tip number 6, do not try to solve everything in your conversation. And this is huge for parenting couples. You're tired, busy, interrupted constantly, and sometimes emotionally overloaded before the conversation even starts. Healthy couples are not couples who never get overwhelmed. They are couples who know how to come back together after overwhelm. And honestly, sometimes that means saying, this conversation matters too much to destroy each other over tonight. And I also want to share something personal here. Early in my own relationship with my husband, we were still dating. It actually took me years to fully feel emotionally safe enough to comfortably and consistently share all of my thoughts and feelings openly. I had this fear underneath that, would he dismiss my feelings? Would I be rejected, misunderstood? Would I still feel emotionally connected if I disagreed with him? And over time and through a lot of work, through emotional safety and trust, that changed. And now my husband even jokes that he misses the phase where I never disagreed with him, because now I disagree all the time. But that emotionally safety mattered. And I think a lot of people watching this need to hear that sometimes emotional openness is not just about communication skills. Sometimes it's about safety. And sometimes it's about past relationship, past family dynamics, past hurt, our fear of conflict, our fear of rejection, our fear of getting things wrong. And healing that takes time. So if this is your relationship right now, I really want you to hear it. Your relationship isn't doomed because one of you shuts down something. But the cycle does need attention because emotional withdrawal left untreated can slowly create loneliness inside a relationship. And the goal again is not perfection. The goal is creating enough safety that both people can stay emotionally connected even during hard moments. If this video resonated with you, and if you're in California and looking for support, I do offer therapy for couples and parents navigating that dynamic. And if you want to keep going with this conversation, check out the next video right here on why couples fight more after having kids and what's actually happening underneath it. Because once you understand the cycle underneath the conflict, everything starts making a little more sense. So don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. And Dklutr, be gentle with yourself and each other.